motion to go ahead and use $27,010 from Act 137 funds to do the, I don't know if you want to call it study, but paperwork, so we can make decisions.
We have a motion and a second to approve the expenditure from the Act 137 funds. And
could I just ask for them to, maybe for Joe to explain what the deliverables will be at the end of the process?
I think with regards to the properties, I mean, initially, obviously, the other properties clearly are single family or one and two family homes, twin homes, or they're a duplex. The bridge house is one, of course, that has addressed most questions because it's, by its very nature, its current code we define more the commercial code than the residential code. So initially, one of our first efforts is just, quite frankly, the development of the existing condition documentation. Following that development of the existing condition documentation is now review with the code official how that building is used will be used and whether it will remain as a...
Can you speak up, Joe?
Yeah,
you're competing with something outside.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, so the evaluation of the bridge house will be one to determine exactly what body of code will be reviewed under, to determine what the estimates that we had been presented before, in terms of what had been considered for that building, whether that's all that needs to be done, or some more things that need to be done to that building. At that point is where we're really looking to develop some conceptual cost estimating to provide the opportunity to make a determination as to whether or not moving forward with renovations to the bridge house is warranted. Otherwise, if they seem to be in line with what previous estimates have been, then certainly we would recommend to continue and simply be renovated as it is.
Can you highlight some of the more obvious?
Well, initially, again, anyone walking into it will look at it as simply as a part of the building. But when you walk into it and you have to understand that, again, I don't know the original history of the building, if it was in fact a single-family farmhouse, but as it's currently divided right now, there are two units that are horizontally separated, one unit separated vertically, and as a vertical unit, it's a two-story unit. So in pure simple code, the idea of the duplex units that we have on South 10th Street as well as on North 7th Street, they're vertically divided from one side, and that's a fairly simple, straightforward code separation. Horizontal separation becomes more of a concern because obviously if there's a unit downstairs, a unit upstairs, fire above, fire below, we have to ensure that they're properly separated. That's one of the things I think initially walking into it. When I looked at the prior list of deficiencies and things that were being addressed, they were all, I'd say, more aesthetic related. Some more functional. There's issues with pipes in the basement freezing. There's some electrical concerns and things like that. But it's that kind of overriding concern that maybe fundamentally, again, the building 30 years ago, we didn't have the IBC building codes in place. They came into effect in 2004. So now there's no change in use. The building hasn't changed its use. It's just that if we're asked to look at it from a code perspective, we want to be responsible to say that the way it should be separated is this way. Are we meeting those separations? And if not, what do we need to do to address those? If that becomes a cost prohibitive effort, then that's the recommendation we're going to make very early on before we go to the point of going to bid documents. So, and then to the point of cost estimating, and again, this is within less than 4 hours, Jamie had asked. So I did, so I guess to your point of the motion, I did have a conversation with a local construction management firm, Lebanon and Sons. We can, if we choose to, purchase services from them for the development of conceptual cost estimating to approximately $3,000.
does that have to amend the 27?
Well,
Should we assume that comes out of the 27?
Well, the way we
you know what they say
presented
about assuming.
Yeah, the way it was presented on an hourly basis. I mean, I guess the question becomes whether or not do we simply do that as part of this, and then come to a point where we actually determine that there aren't services moving forward on the bridge house.
My take on it would be cross that bridge when we get to it, because you're going to be able to have a sense,
That's what I was
sense of
gonna
it.
say.
You're going to say, look, this is
Yeah.
major, and you'll have a sense of it, and then if
We
you
want to
feel
get to that very early on.
Right, if you feel that, you know, it's worth getting some solid numbers on it, then I think that could be considered about letting it in.
That makes sense.
All right, we'll call the question. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so ordered. Any comments from the senior partner? Excuse the expression.
Growing ever senior.
Okay, it's proposed, Joe, anything else?
I do not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
We could do a couple principal levels here, I think they had a go to Amy.
Sure.
Just in case there are any questions.
What is that?
I don't anticipate questions, but. The Community Action and Partnership Advisory Board is recommending Melissa Cruz to be nominated or to be approved for board membership. She would serve as a consumer representative, replacing Deborah Umbrell, whose 2-year term would expire at the end of this year. So we'd ask for your approval on that.
Should make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second to approve that placement. Any questions? Not all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
And a contract for a MATP, Medical Assistance Transportation Program driver, Nicole Harder, for a contract through June 30th, 2017, at the rates that all others were agreed upon for.
So moved.
Second.
It's been approved and seconded to add Nicole Harder to the list. Any questions? Not all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, so moved.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Amy is here. Very well, get started.
If you'd like to come forward. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Well, good. Please introduce yourself and then we'll proceed with the proceedings.
My name is Amy Mazzella DeBosco. I'm the County Recycling Coordinator with the Greater Lebanon Metro Authority. Thank you for having me here today. I think I have sent over an agreement for a grant. The Household Hazardous Waste Program, which we are in our 16th year, we just renewed another 4-year contract, but there were some changes. The grant that we use funds 50/50, and it used to include the education, but what DEP did was made the educational component part of a 901 grant, and it gets 80% funded. So I had to do an additional grant, and it's a 2-year grant for all the education that we do as far as advertising the Household Hazardous Waste Program. And that will include the newspaper ads, radio ads, as well as household hazardous waste wheels for adults and children. So that's what that contract is for. It was approved, and so we just have to send back the agreements. And the 901 grant is through the county and through our agreement with the authority in the county of providing the solid waste and recycling duties. This grant has to go through the county. So, and just some other updates of what's going on.
Do you want us to deal with the motion for the grant?
Yeah, let's do that first. And the amount of the grant, $39,147.
Correct.
Yes.
Also moved.
Second.
It's moved that we enter the grant request for $39,147. Any questions or comments? Not all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved.
Thank you. And just some updates as far as the programs. Like I said, we just renewed the HHW program actually for another 4 years, so we'll be good through 2000.
HHW is Household Hazardous Waste.
Yes, household hazardous waste. I'm sorry, I'm so familiar with the terms that I assume everyone else is. But, yeah, that's the door-to-door program that we sponsor, where the resident calls and they will come right to the house and pick up those items. And there is a $15 copay, and then we pay the other $135 per pickup. And then we get 50% reimbursed through the household hazardous waste grant for that. So what you just signed was the educational component, used to be included in all that, but now they made it separate, which it's a benefit because we get 80% funded rather than 30%. So just a little more paperwork is all. As far as kind of additional to that is our electronics program, which you know is out of the landfill. We're still moving a tractor trailer load a week, and it's a successful program. And and we're promoting that as well. Our recycling roundup, which is our county recycling guide, is at print right now, and that's scheduled to go out to circulate 40,000 through the Sunday, September 25th editions of the Lebanon Daily News and the Patriot News. And that's the annual recycling guide that gets mailed, that gets circulated each year.
Does our portion in the Patriot go to Harrisburg too, or just Lebanon
No,
County?
just, yeah.
Okay, I just was curious.
Yeah, no, the sales rep that I use up at the Patriot,
They can divide it.
they can divide it as far as zip codes
Distribution.
and distribution.
Okay, great, thanks.
No, and so those are the main things that are going on, and we are excited to see some of you at our annual employee and dignitary picnic and hay rides on the landfill, so.
Commissioner Reeves had a question.
Yes,
Yes.
Amy, over probably the past several months, I've heard discussions, and I was just at the CCAP conference, as were all the commissioners, that a lot of the counties are having difficulties or concerns with the electronic recycling because of the low price of the components that they extract from those, and it's almost
There's two
cost
issues.
ineffective to do that.
There's, yeah, the two issues, when the law was made, as in any, when a new law is made, they based it on weight. And think of TVs that they make today, they weigh nothing, you can lift them in one hand, versus what the recycling centers and the collectors are getting are the large console tube TVs that weigh 100 pounds. So the manufacturers are reaching their quotas in no time, and then they say, oh, we're done, we only have to collect this many million pounds, and then they would cut off a program. So a lot of counties had issues with collectors and OEMs, which are the collectors for the manufacturers, or like the middleman who do it. And they're the ones that process the electronics and have to have the certifications that are required by EPA for in the United States. Basically, an R2 or EBN steward certification means that it has to be completely dismantled and recycled within the United States. And you know the chain of command from where every piece goes. So it's not ending up as a 60-minute expose of, people in a third world country children in a third world country taking it apart. So what's happened is counties didn't have contracts, they just kind of had handshakes. We were very fortunate, we contract that, we bid it out, and our recycler has been wonderful, and we thank them every day, because there are other ones that got into this when electronics was big, when the law was passed, and then they weren't getting paid by the manufacturers of the TVs, which is part of the law, is they have to pay the OEMs to collect it, their portion of what they sell. So, you got a lot of new companies that kind of jumped on the bandwagon, just like it's no different with scrap metal when prices are high, you get tons of moms and pops who will collect it and pick it up, but then when prices drop, then they go out of business and they're not gonna do it anymore. So it's the same thing, and unfortunately, some counties their programs had to stop because they had nowhere to go with it, but luckily, we're in a 3-year contract. This is our second 3-year contract. We're in year 2, so we'll be rebidding it next year. But our contractor is actually an international company, so it's not just a company in the United States, which is what a lot of the other companies used. So they subcontracted to E-Loop, which is a Pittsburgh recycling firm. So we're very fortunate, like I said. We thank them every day that Lebanon County, we don't have a problem with moving our electronics.
Thank you for being ahead of the curve on that, because it is a dire situation in some of the other counties. I know they just don't know what to do with it now. So
I have to credit our director,
Yeah,
Larry Taylor,
absolutely.
because he's such.
I don't mind doing that.
No,
Thank
he
you.
is such, he is such a stickler for contracts and with a fine-tooth comb. We really work with the company before we sign the agreement, and it's been very beneficial, because like I said, a lot of neighboring counties. And I live actually in Cumberland County, and there's no program, and
Right, it's
you
wonderful.
can see big TVs sitting out, it's like, oh.
It's one that was.
There's nowhere to go with it. Some counties have nothing, and Dauphin used to let some of the neighboring counties come into their facility, but now they don't do that anymore because they're having a hard time moving their materials.
Okay, anything else for Amy?
Just our landfill space is very precious, and anything we can do to recycle is extremely important so that we don't have to expand the landfill unnecessarily.
Exactly, or so we can be around for 53 more years. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you. Okay, perfect, yeah. You can just give me a ring and I'll come pick it up.
Okay. Number of things for you yet. First, I want to do disabled vet exemptions. For the sake of time, I had asked Dan to forward these up all the time as it's relieved since we don't have an PO. But these are disabled veteran requests, exemption requests from the assessment office. Todd Oxenrider, 116 Oaken Way, Myerstown, and Donald G. Smith, 1030 English Drive, Lebanon.
Is there a motion?
Move to approve the 2 exceptions as read.
Second?
Motion for a second to approve those property tax exemptions. Any questions? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, so ordered.
I have a number of county liquid fuels fixed allocations for municipalities. The first one being for Bethel Township. They intend to simply use it for general maintenance, cost of $5,007, which is the allocation that they would receive.
So moved.
Second.
We'll do this.
Oh,
That should be
okay.
good.
I didn't realize you had a bunch of them, okay.
Palmyra Borough would also like to use theirs for general maintenance, cost of $7,320, which matches their fixed allocation. South Londonderry Township also use it for 2016 general road maintenance at a cost of $10,000. Their allocation would be $6,991. Union Township using theirs for maintenance, cost of $17,787. Their allocation being $3,099. Cleona Borough, using their allocation to overlay Union Alley from Grant Street East. Cost is $4,300. Their allocation toward that would be $2,080. sorry, I think I heard it twice.
Now also moved.
I'll second the motion to approve the liquid fuels grants as presented.
It's been duly moved and seconded. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. So moved.
Okay, we have a bid from the Repository for Unsold Properties in the Tax Claim Bureau. This is a property on North Quarry Road in Swatara Township with an assessed value of $3,900. This was offered at upset tax sale for $1,361.28 on September 14th and did not sell. It was offered again at judicial sale for $834.83 and did not sell back in December. We now have a bid from Susan and Robert Foltz of 2374 Quarry Road, Lebanon for $1,000.
So moved.
Hurry up.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the $1,000 offer.
What was their last name again?
Foltz.
F-O-L?
It's easy. Yeah. I don't have a
It's just
drawing, but it
very-
might be
it's-
next to their property.
Yeah, it is
they're
next to
adding.
theirs, and it's a very narrow strip, it's literally like 2100, it's not very big at all.
Still makes sense.
In favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so opposed. So moved.
Okay, have, this is a resignation from the Lebanon County Commission on Drug and Alcohol Abuse from Rosemary Milgate, who is serving in the optional category with an expiration of February 19th, 2018. So I guess we accept that resignation.
I'll make a motion to accept that resignation.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept Mrs. Milgate's resignation. Questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved.
We have a notification of grant award from the Pennsylvania Commission on Crime and Delinquency. This is for VOCA, Victim Crime Services, for the period of 2016 through 2019. And the total award amount is $363,263. This was presented to you earlier, and now we received notification that it's been awarded, so this would be the acceptance.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the local agreement. Comments or questions? Not all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
And lastly, I have a proclamation in recognition of Thomas Newen's retirement. He was one of the two long-term employees that was on the roster earlier in the meeting, so we have this acknowledging his service. 26 years, I believe.
Move to adopt that proclamation.
I'll move to adopt.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt Mr. Noon's proclamation for his retirement. Any questions? Not all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
We'll have one for Bill Christmas as well. His date was prior to the next commissioners meeting. And then we ask that you can stick around. We would like a personnel session following this one, sure.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We stand adjourned.